What's up, YouTube? It's Johnny Busket. We actually have our first team spotlight today. I actually got a comment on one of our older videos for DCDB. They're asking about the Plastic Man Kid Flash combo, and that instantly sparked the idea in my head. What two better people to come in and talk about it today? We got my guy Bane and my guy Reno. I've been playing DC with them since I started. They've been amazing at the game since I've started. So I thought, what two better people? When this combo was even talked about, or better yet, when Plastic Man was announced, these guys were already chatting about it, talking about the possibility of an infinite combo, and there were questions about it. So we're gonna sit down today. We're gonna talk through that. We're gonna talk about Plastic Man in general. We're gonna talk about Kid Flash in general, and just how this combo works, if it works at all during the game. We'll have more details about that in a second. But Bane and Reno, just kind of talk about how long you guys have been playing deck builders, how you feeling about the season. Just give me some general thoughts real quick.
So I've been playing deck builders for about 5 years now. Started with Legendary, and then my friend showed me DC. It was DC competitive. Actually, I played Ascension first, but DC just was more fun with the MCs. So I ended up playing that. I think I've been playing for like 2.5 years now.
Yeah, I'm Bane. I've been playing competitive DC for about 3 years, maybe about 2.5 years now. Before that, I played other deck builders like Ascension, Dominion. I tried Legendary after getting into DC, but I didn't really like it that much for the same reason. Like, the characters add so much more to this. And I've been playing like general card games for like 20 years, like Magic and all that.
So Bane, tell me, what's your general feelings about this team?
Honestly, it's a bit of a meme team. The whole purpose of the team is to just like try and go for that infinite combo to just buy the entire main deck in one turn.
Yeah, and Reno, same idea? You feel the same way?
Oh, for sure. That if you just wanna auto win with 1,000 VP, this is what you try to do. Because you need to get 3 cards out of what, 461, or at least 2 out of.
Yeah, 2 copies of the 3 copies. Yeah.
Right. So y'all talked about it just now, but the plan here with Plastic Man is so you can get these 2 cards, you can get infinite power, and then you can use Kid Flash to buy the entire main deck. So just looking at Plastic Man, once during each of your turns, you may have the next card you play gain a type or subtype of your choice until the end of your turn. Now, type, that can play a really big part in what you can do. Subtype, not so much. But over here with Kid Flash, each time you buy or gain a card from the lineup during your turn, you may add the top card of the main deck to the lineup. So the idea is to make Plastic Man an equipment, copy another equipment with power, and use your second Plastic Man to copy the first Plastic Man and get infinite power to buy the entire main deck. Now, that's a lot to even make happen. Like, you have to be incredibly, I feel like, not only lucky, but be playing with people who can let Plastic Man get to you. So I don't know if it's something you would even want to try competitively. Would y'all try that competitively at all? Like, if we were in a tournament or something?
I would only play this in like a casual or just to mess around and like try and hit this. But like, as far as like an infinite combo and competitive, there's better ones. Like like the reason this whole came up was I used to play a team with Mr. Miracle. Whenever you discard cards, you can put them on top of your deck. And if you ever got him as your MC with the character card of the same that lets you draw when you discard him, you could discard him to the top and basically draw your entire deck. So like, it's an infinite combo that's like even easier than this because it only requires 1 extra card. But this is just even funnier because it's infinite power plus the stuff that lets you keep buying cards.
Right. So let's.
But yeah, I would only ever play it as like as a joke or just messing around because there's no real competitiveness to it. Because besides that infinite combo, your team doesn't really do much for how many points you're paying.
Right. Reno, have you tried this much yet?
Yeah, I've tried it twice. I've gotten 1 Plastic Man each time. I've come so close because I was able to get a Plastic Man that flipped up on my turn. I was playing last, so it was like they have to flip up on my turn, or you force them out with Kid Flash. Like, the only other thing is you can force them out with Kid Flash, but your team doesn't generate power, so like you just have to. You get 2 flips at most, 2 tries to like get it. 1 on your turn that starts as long as no one buys the boss, and 1 when you pull maybe a 2 or a 3 and you have 6 power, and you can potentially get it.
Yeah, you got to be high rolling like a boss. And maybe I didn't pull these cards out, but maybe you just buy as much lineup control as you can get. Whether you're wiping the lineup completely with something like Riders or cards like that, or if you get something like Gotham City Docks and you just refill, and that gives you another refill. It's just you have to find the cards before they show up for anyone else, and that's just extremely difficult.
Or something like New York that lets you buy it from the destroy pile.
Yes,
because for the downside to this is a random plastic man could get destroyed by one of those lineup cards from other people, or something like a globe of teleportation could just destroy one of the plastic man, and letting you buy it from the destroy pile will just, it's all about getting the plastic man, and without them you don't do much, but you need 2 of them, and unfortunately there's only 3 in the deck.
Definitely, and that's extremely rare and extremely hard. So let's shift over here to the table. We can play it out. You guys can just show what the interaction looks like. I've set it up for both of y'all right here. Let me turn on turns. I guess that doesn't matter as much, but there it is. You could draw your hand. I've already set your hands up for you. You'll see what's in there. So the great thing about this, and the great thing about this, it doesn't matter. Like I put Blaster in your discard pile. So the thing with Plastic Man, let me go ahead and read it out. Choose an equipment in your discard pile or that you play this turn. Plastic Man gains the game text of that card this turn. So whether you have a 1 power card like Blaster in your discard pile, or you have a 4 power card in your hand like Nth Metal Mace, it doesn't matter. Once you pop off the interaction, you buy the whole main deck and you feel good about yourself and you go to sleep really good that night. But like we were just talking about, it's really hard to do. So I mean, Bane, if you want to just go ahead and play that out and kind of talk about it.
I'll kind of explain it. Like, the reason this combo works, so essentially what it does is you play the first Plastic Man, and unlike other effects like Clayface or Magic Clone that are banned now, but that replay cards, Plastic Man doesn't replay the card. Instead, he takes the text of the equipment, this time being Blaster, and basically absorbs that into his text box. So after I play this Plastic Man and target Blaster, this Plastic Man now says, choose an equipment you played or in your discard pile, and he gains the text. Then below that, it'll say, if you control an equipment, +3 power, otherwise +1 power. It's like adding chapters to a book or like pages to a story. So what this would do, it would play this. Then what you want to do is the second Plastic Man, you want to be able to target this first one. But in order to do that, because it only targets equipment, you need this one to be an equipment. So how you do that is with the MC Plastic Man, or originally when the combo was first developed, the main deck card Garfield Logan, which basically is the same effect as Plastic Man.
And we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, so when I play this, I'm going to go, my next card is an equipment. Play this, gain the text of Blaster. So now I've gained 1 power. Now, when I play this Plastic Man, I can either choose Blaster or this Plastic Man because it's an equipment now that I played this turn. Now this is where the combo really happens. If this was like a Clayface, it would just play this Plastic Man and that'd be done, because you can't target cards that are currently resolving. However, this Plastic Man never actually replays its target. What it does is just absorb the text. So now if I play this one, targeting this other Plastic Man, he'll then say, choose an equipment you played. Then it will say, choose an equipment you played, because that's what this one says. Then it will say +1 power. So you noticed it says choose an equipment you played twice. So when I play this one, I now move over to this one, and this Plastic Man says, hey, choose an equipment you played. So I'm going to choose himself, because this card is the one that's targeting this Plastic Man. So if this Plastic Man just said replay a card, it wouldn't work because you couldn't target himself. But this one says choose an equipment, you choose this one. This one says choose an equipment, but it adds it onto this one. So this one says now choose an equipment, which allows you to choose this one and then add choose an equipment back on. You basically keep adding pages to the story, or like a choose your own adventure book, and every time you pick to choose a new equipment. And every time you pick this equipment, you also get what's already on there, the effect of Blaster.
Yes.
So essentially, this Plastic Man plays this one, but without playing it, just using its text, and adds it to itself. And because the text includes choose an equipment, it just keeps adding it onto itself over and over and over again, while still adding this +1 power from Blaster. So it basically loops to give you infinite power. Now, if Blaster said +1 power, draw a card like Batarang, you would also be drawing cards. So that allows you to do like even crazier things where you get to play your entire deck. But essentially, just with this, you gain the infinite power, because play this one, choose this, get a power. Choose this, get a power. Choose this, get a power. Just loop it, and then eventually when you want to stop, you just choose Blaster. And now you have infinite power, as much power as you want.
Right.
And you just start buying stuff. And because of Kid Flash, every time you buy something, you add a card. So you buy this for 2, add a card. Buy this, oh, that's funny. Buy this for 5, add a card. And just repeat till you go through the entire main deck. At which point, you buy Kick, and just call her a day. And then you pass, and because there's no more main deck, the game ends. And you have, 1,000 VP. Or like 405, 600 VP or something like that. We worked it out.
So this kind of brought up something else in my mind. So let's say you somehow, the stars align, you get not only the 2 Plastic Men, but you have an equipment with power in your deck. Now you have to somehow be able to get both of those in your hand, have an equipment in your discard pile in your hand as well. So you're not only playing the game of I have to get these cards in my deck at all, you have to make sure you're able to get them all in your hand at the same time. So Reno, do you concentrate on trying to keep your deck small? Like, what do you, your Kid Flash, like, how is that even a thing?
It's almost impossible. I mean, you would like to ideally, but like aside from like maybe Dynesium or to like help you do that, because you can do Dynesium as a superpower and then keep your deck small while being able to get power. Otherwise, you just can't. It's almost impossible because you need to keep filling your deck with random things to just even flip out the power, like the Plastic Minims.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult.
Yeah, and Bane just touched on something else. He also kind of added in our notes just now, focusing on draw cards. So just talk. Of course, I mean, you get the idea of a draw card, but talk about that.
Yeah, like Reno was saying, you got to fill your deck with stuff just to dig deeper. So one thing you almost want to prioritize, yes, destruction, but you also want to prioritize stuff like this Kid Flash, just draw a card. Simply cards that when you play them, let you get through your deck. Because your deck's going to get big. It's going to get big, full of a whole bunch of garbage. And you want to be able to dig to these 2 Plastic Men. So you want stuff like, just stuff that generically draws you a card, stuff like Bat Signal that returns heroes is good, stuff that just returns cards is good. But besides that, yeah, you're just trying to dig for these Plastic Men in the main deck while still having a deck that can generate power and be competitive. Because the more power you get, the more you can dig each turn with Kid Flash. So you turn into like a generic farm team.
Yeah.
Without like a whole bunch of boosted power from MCs.
Or extra draw.
Yeah, it's funny this is in the lineup too. You can destroy cards with things like Expert Marksman or the other cards that let you destroy and gain a VP if your objective is keeping your deck small, in addition to keeping the draws inside of your deck as well. So
right,
yeah.
But these are great early game to mid game. Like maybe you get like Plastic Man and you have like 15, 20 cards in your deck, and you just thin out with Expert Marksman or something like that. But like otherwise, they're also fodder, or not fodder, but like dead cards eventually. Like you're gonna get rid of the power that you need to just try to dig in anyway. So I don't like getting Expert Marksmans or Steals or any of the other destructions that don't turn into power later on, because it's just it stalls. Like you'll this Expert Marksman will blow up a punch and you won't be able to even buy a Kid Flash basically, or a Kick. Like you'll flip out, you'll buy the Kid Flash, and then instead of having the 3 extra power, you can't buy like Dr. Destiny because you have Expert Marksman instead. So it's hard. It's just a difficult situation without anything being boosted. Like honestly, these 2 are a fun meme team, or like a puzzle meme team, but are better off in obviously other teams. So
next, that kind of leads us into our next thing. So aside from this infinite combo, and let me shift back over here to where we were. Besides the infinite combo, There's some other cards you might want to focus on to help make this team better, or give you some ways to use Plastic Man outside of just shooting for this extremely rare, almost impossible infinite combo. And I've kind of listed those out here. On this left side, I have some cards that'll kind of help you generate power based on what types you're using. The thing with Plastic Man, you get one shot. So you want to make sure you have your turn thought out, exactly what you're going for, because you get one time to turn a card into a different type, or have it gain a different type or a different subtype. So what do you guys think about these cards we got listed here, and about the effectiveness of using them with a Plastic Man?
So this Dark Knight Metal Plastic Man, High Tech Hero, they're probably your best value for everything, because on average in the cube, every 3 power represents 1 VP. And if you're in a farm team, so you just always try to get multiples of 3.
Right.
So this one, High Tech Hero, obviously when you make your punch a superpower, it gets 3 power, so you have 4, so you'll get a VP that turn. Plastic Man, if you can get, I don't know why this keeps doing this.
Because we're on the edge of the table.
Plastic Man, if you can get 4 power off of this, having 3 different types, or I guess with Plastic Man as your MC, you only need 2 different types, because
you have starter and hero already, so it allows you to get, and then just any other type.
Right. If you have a superpower, you're fine. You just name location randomly. So he's good, and he basically becomes Animal Man at that point, right? Like this card becomes Animal Man, the MC.
Right. And
so they're
go ahead.
I mean, they're just good, and 3 power for Demonic and Cloak of Raven is always good, but it's difficult for Kid Flash because you don't want to ever buy 5 costs realistically, even though they are multipliers. Most of the time they give you 1 to 2 power. Especially without draw cards in this deck, like you won't be able to, like, I guess for Cloak of Raven you need pots. I like clicking these. They just keep going up. You get Cloak of Raven if you have pots, or I think that's the only 2 cost draw card. And Demonic Influence, if you have 5 power and you don't think you'll get, like, it's like a full 5 power lineup, then you just get Demonic Influence as long as you have like a Johnny Quick, or like even the Gizmo. Like those work as well with it.
Okay, so I'll gather those. And in the middle here, I have some ongoings. If you guys want to just kind of sift through those and see what's in there. Some other cards that might be effective with Plastic Man too.
Yeah, like these ones are basically going to be your go-tos.
Yeah.
If Reno stops searching.
Sorry.
Whenever you're playing Plastic Man, like as Reno was saying, usually you're going to get +1 power or +1 draw out of his ability. It's usually the most consistent, like the Ravens and stuff like that, or if you play a superpower, +1 power. So your go-tos, you're going to want to aim for like one of either the Forever Evil locations or the base set locations. Because they say when you play a type, draw a card, or when you play a type, +1 power. So if you can get one of those, especially one of the base set ones, you essentially turn your Plastic Man into draw 1 extra card a turn. Or if you get a Forever Evil, it's +1 extra power every turn. It's not much. Like, I've talked before in the past that Plastic Man's kind of like a Vixen, where depending on what you get out of the main deck, you either get a little bit of power, a little bit of draw, or destruction, as we'll see like with Telekinesis. But the locations you usually want to prioritize, besides obviously Plastic Man and like draw stuff, but these, because they'll give you an effect every turn of the game with Plastic Man, which is one of his weaknesses. If you don't have something that cares about types, he's not doing anything.
Right.
Cadmus is actually like a fairly powerful card with him, because of what it allows you to do is usually Cadmus's weakness is you can only return heroes and villains. With Plastic Man, you can now return any card that costs 3 or less. So you can get those like really good equipment. You can keep bouncing those and replay them at once. Or just like random superpowers, because there's a lot of good superpowers that cost 3 and a lot of good equipment. And you don't always have a hero or a villain.
Right.
And at the very least, you can just bounce a punch to get an extra power.
Definitely. And I also put Garfield Logan out here. You were talking about this a second ago. He's basically Plastic Man, right? Aside from being able to assign a subtype. But the great thing about him is you can say the next card you discard has a type, and that unlocks a whole nother level, right?
Yeah. Initially, the whole double Plastic Man infinite combo required you to have Logan in play, which made it from a 2-card combo to a 3-card combo. And that's why this team actually became something because when Plastic Man was printed, it's, hey, I can turn one of those 3 cards I need into my main character. So you always have them. But what the big upside to Logan is if you do get, say, only 1 Plastic Man out of your deck, it enables all kinds of fun stuff. Because that Plastic Man is essentially a Clayface now because you can just copy all kinds of stuff now, while still copying other cards and even adding more type. Normally, the Plastic Man and Garfield don't really interact that well because it's already doing it with Plastic Man. But if for some crazy reason you get the infinite combo of having the 2 Plastic Men and you also have a Garfield Logan, you can do some funny stuff. Because normally you're just copying an equipment with Plastic Man for infinite power. What Logan does is you can play any card, make it an equipment, then you play a Plastic Man copying that equipment while using your MC to make that Plastic Man, and then play the second one to infinite loop that card. Now you're thinking, it doesn't really do much. But what if that first card you play is a Black Lantern Green Arrow that destroys the top card of each of your opponent's decks? And then you play that infinite amount of times and destroy all your opponent's decks. It's more of a win-more situation, but it's a funny win-more situation.
So even if you didn't have Kid Flash, there's still options there. If you have
without Kid Flash, or you could do something like a teleport and just gain the top card of the main deck over and over again. It enables funny things like that.
All right, so I also have 2 other cards right here just to kind of talk about how even aside from gaining extra power, there's other things you can do. You can have cards like Gizmo where you can draw a card. You didn't have an equipment, you change something to an equipment. It's just that same premise. I was looking for cards where using the subtype or giving a card a subtype mechanic for Plastic Man actually would do something. And outside of these Dark Knight Metal cards, and specifically this one, Dionysium, I don't think there's anything else. Reno, do you know of anything else that would matter with me giving a subtype to a card or something like that?
Currently in the cube, no. Maybe no, none of them gives keywords. The only other one is construct trains, which lets you get a construct out of your graveyard. So that obviously doesn't work during your turn.
Right.
Yeah, the only subtype that matters in Cube is Dionysium. Outside of Cube, there's the Unity cards. So if those ever become unbanned or whatever, it would like have some fun synergy with Plastic Man. But most of those again are usually just like +1 power or draw a card.
Yeah. And even this was a reach with Dionysium because you could just make it a superpower, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like the subtype, like even with Dionysium, does nothing essentially.
Yeah. So I mean, we kind of covered most of what we can cover about this combo. So what's better ways to use Plastic Man? Because he's a 5, and we kind of talked about that. It's just really hard to make him great at 5. What other things can I partner him with?
I did pull out a couple of the other, because he is a 5. There's not many options for him. Like Plastic Man's greatest strength is not his interaction with main deck cards; it's his interaction with other MCs. Because with main deck cards, you got to get that main deck card and you got to draw it. Again, it's the same thing as Logan, right? Logan is a good card simply because it turns on other characters. So Plastic Man's strength is interacting with other characters. So there's stuff like Katana here. If you control 2 or more equipment, you can destroy a starter in your hand. So by having that in Plastic Man, it's a guaranteed 1 equipment every turn, so you just need a second equipment. Same with Oracle, she'll draw you a card. Starfire, control 4 types, destroy. Star Sapphire, one of the better ones because it only requires 1 equipment. So you could essentially activate it every single turn, and you get to like look at the top of your deck and either discard it or put it on the bottom or keep it.
A similar one would be Silk Spectre. She's the hero version of Star Sapphire.
Yeah.
It's a little worse, but Star Sapphire is the better one for sure.
So his greatest strength, because you can pair with other MCs that require types, is that you have access to them every turn. You're not revolving around main deck cards or drawing cards. Right. So like, say he was a 4 cost instead of a 5. He would have access to a whole lot more options, because there's a lot of 2s that require types. There's stuff like Saint Walker that destroys the top of your deck. There's a bunch of, like, if you control a superpower and equipment, do something, or if you control 2 superpowers, do stuff like Dr. Manhattan. So his real strength is his interaction with other characters. Unfortunately, that strength is what also kind of bumped him up to a 5, because you could theoretically get out of control. Like, that's why he will never, I'm using quotations, but never be a 3, because stuff like Black Adam, every time you play a superpower, you can destroy it. Allowing you to play a punch as a superpower and destroy it to draw a card and gain a VP is just insanely powerful.
Yes.
So there's some MCs he can never be allowed to team with, just because it would be too powerful. We've seen teams like that in the past where it's like, well, these 2 characters can never be on a team together, so they have to be tiered accordingly.
Yeah, and you really led to what I was about to talk about. I was gonna ask both of you, if he was a 4, just to kind of give people an idea of ways they can use him and maybe give them some idea. If he was a 4, what would your ideal team be? Reno, talk to me. What would your ideal team be if he was a 4?
With the current setup of 2s?
Yes, I have 1s right here and I have 2s right here. If you need
I
to
would
look.
probably just use them with Saint Walker, honestly.
And why is that?
It's just a free destroy turn 1, right? Like,
right.
I replace, if I have 3 power or if I have 4 power, as long as I don't have 2 power, I replace a kick with a punch, or a punch with a kick, or a vuln with a kick, something along the lines. Ideally, you have 4 power, hit a vuln, and then every turn after that, you just whittle it down, and then you'll replace punches with either kick like objects or 5-cost cards. Like, you'll always have 10 cards in your deck as long as you're only buying 1 card a turn. So you're pretty thin from turn 1 on.
And that would really speed you up a lot. I don't know if that's OP, but I could definitely see somebody just instantly get into crazy amounts of power.
Yeah, it's just consistent, right? Like, you need to add kicks instead of, like, if you have 3 power, you don't buy it. Like, if it's not a 3 power or a 2 power card, you don't buy it, because you need to replace the punches to have more power. And if you're stuck with 3 vulns still, your max power is what, 7 times 2, 14. So even if you only hit punches with it, which is for the first 5 turns, you'll replace all those punches with 2 power. So you effectively go up to like 10 power, and you can buy a first boss within 3 or 4 turns, probably.
Man. So Bane, what about you? What's your ideal team? If he was a 4.
Yeah, Manhattan seems like the most consistent because it lets you do something immediately. Another option is something like, Saint Walker is more consistent. Another thing you could do is something like Manhattan. He's a little slower because you need other superpowers, but the fact that it lets you kind of choose what you're destroying instead of being reliant on the top of your deck allows it to hold a little bit more value. Because what you'll do is you'll buy a kick, then when you draw that kick, you'll play a punch as a superpower, play that kick, destroy a vuln. A couple other teams, there's like a lot of the things you get out of it are usually destruction. Seems like the best synergy because there's a lot of stuff that's like, if you control 2 types, destroy. If you control 1 type, destroy. Something like Red Hood, same kind of situation.
Yeah.
Other options, there's like Felicity Smoke. If you control 2 heroes, you get to basically either tuck the top card of the main deck or gain the top card of the main deck. And what Plastic Man allows you to do is do this faster and more consistently because you already have one of the 2 types you need. The other team I've seen a lot of people talking about is a new Batcat team, which is Batwoman at tier 1 and Catwoman at tier 1. The whole point of this team is to buy villains and ongoings, rotate them, and gain top cards of the deck and make cards cheaper. What's the upside to this is you can make any card you play either a villain to trigger Catwoman to rotate something, or as a type you want to rotate with a villain you already have in your hand to make a card in the lineup cheaper. So you could play a punch as a kick, or not a kick, but as a superpower kick, and then play a villain and rotate it, and now all your superpowers cost 1 less.
Right.
This is also nice because this is an ongoing team, obviously, and Plastic Man synergizes real well with ongoings.
Exactly.
Like location ongoing. So
yeah, all the locations are very good for him already, and this team kind of already wants to buy locations.
Right. So it works on. It's much slower than what you would prefer. ideally. I don't think there's a lot of. There are actually a lot of 4 costs, or a lot of ongoing villains. So you can get, because you can turn 1 make like a blank free, or even a 3 cost Lady Vic. So it's always nice to have those options. Otherwise,
yeah. One of the other options too I've seen is Night Owl.
Yeah, I was looking at that too, because it's the same effect as Oh no, it's a stacking effect, which is pretty good for.
Yeah, and it's a stacking effect. You only need 1 equipment to trigger, which means you get to do it every turn with Plastic Man. As you can see, that's his greatest strength, is allowing you to enable other MCs either quicker or immediately. In the case of like Saint Walker, Night Owl, and like Star Sapphire.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for just kind of going over that. I think one last thing we should do, because Plastic Man is the star of the show, right? Kind of talk about Kid Flash and this meta. If you both can kind of give me your overall feelings on that. Reno, if you want to kick us off, like Kid Flash in this meta, what do you think? Let's give him some shine.
I think he's a pretty viable pick for 3. It just depends on who you're playing with. I think Kid Flash is more of a table centric MC than it is a actual like team. If you play first, there are 3 teams that I think Kid Flash work really well with right now, and it's like Kid Flash, Stargirl, and Booster is probably the best team in terms of consistency and like keeping you safe.
I really love that team. When you play it, I haven't got to try it yet, and I've been saying I'm gonna try it. But I love defense teams, and that's right up my alley. So I'm gonna have to get it a try. Let me pull out Booster Gold.
Booster Gold is because the main deck has so many defenses in it right now, and it just effectively, it's the only thing that's really good with I think Kid Flash and defenses, because it'll keep you safe. If someone actually does attack you for whatever reason, you'll get 3 cards from that. You'll go through 3 cards in your deck because of Stargirl and Booster Gold, and whatever the card effect is. So it's just nice to have. It makes certain cards infinites, like Flight. Flight is an infinite defense at that point. It's literally a 2-powered or 2-cost, I guess, Blue Beetle.
Right.
And then it also then turns into a Hummingbird when you play it, right? You just get 1 power,
draw
a discard. Yeah, 2-powered Hummingbird. Just draw a discard. And so you cycle real fast with the team. It's really nice. I think it helps curve against like how focused people are on attacking you. I think I haven't seen it in a competitive table yet. I've done really well with the team, so I think it's pretty strong, because there's just too many defenses, and then people won't want to attack you. So like there'll be a lineup of 4 other attacks, and then there's only 1 card, and you're that person that can just take that 1 card and make it a 5-card lineup. So you're like, okay, now you guys have to buy these attacks. They're not going anywhere. And then if they buy them, then you're ahead further. It's really good. Plus it turns any of the really great defenses like Cape and Cowl or something like that. If it's a defend, it's basically a 2-powered end metal mace. Or if you don't defend, then it's a 3-powered Hummingbird. So choose your effect there.
And that makes my heart warm even talking about defensive teams. So thank you. I appreciate
So there's
that.
just a lot. And then you don't have to worry about destroying because of Stargirl. And all the 2-powered, like all the crappy ones, actually become decent. Like Magic Bracers, Flight. Flight's not the worst, but like it's really good. What other 2-cost defenses are there? Katanas are really good then. Katanas are always good, but they're even better. Same with
just like draw 3, discard 1.
Yeah. So that's you played a 2-powered Flash boss right there if you have to defend.
Yikes. So and Bane, what do you think about Kid Flash? And before you go, I do want to say I love using Kid Flash with Dr. Fate, and I would never, ever, ever, ever use Dr. Fate until Bane showed me how he uses them. The way he uses them makes it really easy to keep up with everything. I wouldn't touch him. I literally never touched him until Bane showed me that. Because he can get really confusing. I have it up here on the screen for y'all. It's not the most amazing thing, but Kid Flash, Ocean Master, and Dr. Fate, I just love doing it. It's fun to use Dr. Fate. But what do you think of Kid Flash?
Dr. Fate's always been my favorite MC because he has no limit to his abilities. He's one of the only MCs that will continue to trigger if you keep playing cards. Most of them only trigger once a turn. Black Lightning's like the only other exception where you can keep using them over and over again. But Dr. Fate, if you still have cards, you can keep getting more and more power and more cards off of them. As far as Kid Flash, though, like, as Reno was saying, like, he really finds his home on farm teams. The fact that you can keep buying cards from the main deck make him perfect for any kind of farm team. Usually you'll see him on 1-2-3s because you get a decent 3, a decent 2 to get you a lot of power and maybe some card draw. And he's just there as your support to feed your deck. Some versions were like the old Batcat team where you just want to buy a whole bunch of villains and ongoings. Stuff like the Ocean Master or Cheetah teams where you want to buy 2 cards a turn. He just lets you find more cards, more cheaper cards. Or there's stuff like the high tier Ocean Master that lets you gain a card that costs less in the lineup when you buy a card, because Kid Flash will add that card before you gain that next card. So you could buy like a really big 5-cost equipment. There may not be an equipment, but Kid Flash could flip up like a 4-cost or a 3-cost equipment and basically save you from missing your trigger. But because of that, he just goes good on any farm team.
Right. And back to the Batcat situation. If you go first, I found a lot of success going first with Kid Flash, Batcat, and Wonder Woman. Because like if you hit two or three like villains in the first couple turns, you honestly go off. Like you have a Calabac hand by turn 3 or 4, and it just keeps going. It's actually a lot of fun to just do that. And you don't care for defense teams. Really, because like, so what? They get a defense, they defend, they do their one thing. Most of the time, if you take the Kid Flash, they'll just take boss. So you just count 4 power or 4 VP or 5 VP, then you equal their boss. But before they can even ramp up, you try to get 3 or 4 VP a turn, or 2 to 3 VP a turn. On average, let's say, and you can do it. So there are a lot of good 2s for villains like Ocean Master.
Cheetah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff just helps. And then those are all like gizmos and all that stuff. Like you'll buy them, rotate them, then you'll get stuff off the top of the deck. It's actually kind of crazy.
You're making stuff cheaper as it flips out. Yeah.
And then you'll have infinite hand draw too. Like it's really great to have this. I wish we still had the old team though.
Oh my god, that team was ridiculous. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, actually Reno, you go ahead. It's your team. Go ahead.
So the old team is you used to be able to run Wonder Woman and Lex Luthor. The other 3-cost or 3-tier draw card, because 50% of the main deck is either heroes or villains. So you run this.
It's even more of that, isn't it? Though, with the superpower curve.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's like 55. But yeah, it's basically half the deck.
Right, and then you used to be able to run Skitter with it, or even if you can run a Destruction with it. Honestly, like whatever, you just run these 3 as your shell and figure out what you want as your 4th, and then you pretty much. There are times I had like 15 card hands, so you just draw that many cards at the end of the game.
In 100+ power turns.
Yeah, and it's a mother box. Well, 100+ is because Metron was in the game. It's no longer in the game. But,
yeah,
and you ancient mapped.
Yes,
yeah.
And you can ancient map.
Yeah, so I think the last thing, you mentioned it right when you first started talking about Kid Flash. It's a table-centric character. So, and by that you mean it's based on who you're playing against and what scenario you're in, right? Or what position you're in.
Yeah, like some people you can tell they tend to overbuy lineups, or they don't overbuy lineups. Other people, like when they see Kid Flash, it'll be like 3 people. You're just playing like Aquaman, Cyborg, Indigo, or whatever, Granny Goodness Indigo, and then their turns, if they hit, like if one of those 3 teams hit, which is most likely, game ends in like 5 turns.
Yeah, because his greatest weakness is efficient, fast boss rush teams. It's the weakness of all farm teams. You want the game to go as long as possible. Well, boss rush teams want them to go as quickly as possible to stop you from ramping up to the turns when you can buy like 5-6 cards a turn, get 5-6 VP, which is almost, if not more, than one of the supervillains. Because all they can do is buy a supervillain every turn to keep up with you.
Right. And your only other greatest like aspect, if there is 3 of them at a table, you can still technically play it, because they'll split the bosses between themselves, and then you'll eventually on average, if you get 3 VP a turn after turn 4 or something like that, you'll get there.
So you just need defense.
You do need defense. That's why I like the other version, because or if someone else is Kid Flash, what you could do, shout out to Tom because he does this to me all the time, is get Starfire, Rainer, Bizarro, and the 2-cost Kid Flash and farm it out with them, and then you force the boss rush teams to have crappy cards in the lineup most of the time, and you're protected from weaknesses. So that's one of the greatest, like a strong weakness of Kid Flash. And you can actually destroy, reset hands. Like, it's a pretty versatile team.
Well, that will do it. I mean, thank you guys. I instantly knew that y'all were the best people to bring in here and talk about this, and we had a lot of great things to talk about. I learned a lot. I'm sure anybody who's gonna watch this, especially if they're new to Cube, is gonna learn a lot. So thank you guys. You're amazing. So I appreciate it. And you guys that are watching and you guys that are learning from this, like, subscribe, please comment. Tell us what we need to talk about and what other things we need to look at. We'll be happy to do it. But I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.